Welcome to Urban Legends Uncovered, your spine-tingling journey through the world of urban legends and spooky lore. Here's your host, paranormal expert, Mark Sellers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Urban Legends Uncovered. I'm your host, Mark Sellers, and today we're delving into the depths of one of England's most captivating ghost stories, the Black Lady of Bradley Woods. I promise you a journey filled with mystery, a touch of spine-tingling chills, and perhaps even a few laughs along the way. Now, without further ado, let's unravel the legend of the Black Lady and see how it's become a pivotal part of local folklore. Before we get into the ghostly sightings and lore, let's begin by understanding the setting itself. Bradley Woods. Situated just outside the small village of Bradley in northeast Lincolnshire, the woods have long been a peaceful escape for locals. Tall trees stand shoulder to shoulder, filtering sunlight through their leaves and creating a mysterious, dappled twilight beneath the canopy. To many, Bradley Woods is a tranquil spot for walks and picnics during the day. Yet as evening approaches and the shadows grow, the woods take on an entirely different atmosphere, one ripe for folklore and ghostly legends. Indeed, it's in these very woods where the mysterious Black Lady is said to appear. Historically, Bradley has existed since at least the time of the Domesday Book, and over the centuries, these woods have been a silent witness to the changing face of Lincolnshire, from agriculture to the industrial era, from medieval conflicts to modern times. It's no wonder that with such a long history, stories of spirits and apparitions have woven themselves into the fabric of this place. Local folklore describes the Black Lady as a woman dressed in a long black cloak or gown, sometimes with a hood obscuring her face. Her presence is accompanied by an atmosphere of intense sorrow. Passers-by have described hearing gentle sobbing or feeling an inexplicable heaviness in the air. There are several versions of her tragic story, but one popular account connects her origins to the 15th or 16th century. Legend has it that she was a young wife and mother whose husband left to fight in a distant war. Some say the Wars of the Roses, others claim it was a conflict in the Napoleonic era. Alone but hopeful, she remained in Bradley, raising their newborn child in a small cottage near the edge of the woods. Then tragedy struck. One day a band of soldiers, some versions say enemy troops, others describe them as deserters or looters, arrived in the village. They plundered homes, seized what they could, and committed acts of violence. When they came to her cottage, they stole her precious baby and vanished into the forest. Heartbroken, the young mother set out into the woods, frantically searching for her lost child. She supposedly wandered those paths for days, her wails echoing through the trees, until her grief led her to her untimely death, or until she simply vanished, never to be seen again in mortal form. Yet sightings of her figure, cloaked in black and gazing forlornly into the distance, soon began to be reported. She appears, they say, near twilight or just after dark, her face hidden, her presence silent but anguished. If approached, she may briefly look up, showing a face streaked with tears, before disappearing like mist in the wind. In other variations, her story is set during the English Civil War in the mid-17th century, or tied to different local conflicts. The identity of her aggressors changes, but the core tragedy remains the same: a mother in search of her lost child, doomed to wander forever. Like many legends, the story of the Black Lady may contain elements of real events blended with folklore over centuries of oral tradition. War and conflict have left their mark on Lincolnshire more than once. During the Wars of the Roses, for instance, the region wasn't a central battleground, yet skirmishes and raids could have happened. The English Civil War, too, saw raids, conscriptions, and displacement affecting small villages. Additionally, stories of women in mourning dresses are a common theme in European ghost lore. These grieving spirits often stem from genuine historical tragedies, wars, epidemics, or personal crimes that left families broken. Over time, details might shift to fit local color or emphasis. The consistent element is a profound sense of loss that resonates with listeners, generation after generation. Within Bradley itself, records of such events that perfectly match the legend are scarce or vague. But that doesn't mean the legend has no foundation in truth. It merely suggests it grew organically from whispers, memories, and local tragedies, taking on a life of its own as it was retold around campfires and in living rooms. Now, one of the most intriguing aspects of this legend is how it persists into modern times. Residents in and around Bradley, and even curious visitors, have come forward with stories of strange encounters in the woods, encounters they believe were with the Black Lady. Let's begin with the account of Peter, a local man who often walks his dog in Bradley Woods at dusk. One evening, he claimed his dog stopped dead in its tracks, ears perked, as if sensing something out of the ordinary. That's when Peter noticed a figure in a dark cloak standing motionless among the trees. As he tried to approach, the figure drifted behind a trunk. When he rounded the tree, there was no one there. According to Peter, an overwhelming sense of sadness washed over him at that very moment, an emotion that stayed with him for days. Then there's Laura, who grew up in Bradley and spent much of her childhood exploring the woods. She vividly recalls a night during her teenage years. She and her friends ventured into the forest for a bit of a thrill, shining their flashlights among the towering trees. Laura heard what she described as the faintest sound of crying. Initially, she thought it might be an animal, but as she ventured deeper, the crying became unmistakably human, soft, mournful, and echoing through the silent woods. When the group tried to trace the sound, they found themselves going in circles, the sobbing always seeming to move just out of earshot. Though they never saw the Black Lady directly, Laura insists the sorrowful aura was palpable, leaving them shaken and eager to leave. Another resident, a man named Gary, recounted his own experience that occurred on a cold winter afternoon. He was photographing the woods at twilight, hoping to capture the stark beauty of the leafless trees. Through his camera's viewfinder, he noticed a woman in the distance, dressed in what looked like a long, dark coat. Concerned she might be lost or in trouble, given the freezing temperatures, he lowered his camera to call out. But the figure vanished before he could speak. Reviewing his photos later, Gary found one frame that showed a faint, blurry shape in the spot where he'd seen the woman. To this day, he's not sure if it was a trick of the light or evidence of the Black Lady. There's also the testimony of a father, Dave, and his young daughter, Emily. During an early evening stroll, Emily tugged on her dad's sleeve and pointed toward a shadowy figure, partially hidden by the trees. She insisted there was a sad lady watching them. Dave glimpsed a dark shape for just a moment before it melted into the twilight. Emily kept asking where the lady had gone and why she was crying, though neither father nor daughter heard any actual sobbing. Dave remains convinced his daughter saw something truly inexplicable that night. Even motorists passing by the edge of the woods have spoken of a fleeting silhouette crossing the road, disappearing within seconds of coming into view. A handful say they've stopped, convinced they nearly hit someone, only to find the roadside empty. Others report glimpsing a woman's face, pale and tear-streaked, reflected momentarily in their headlights before vanishing into the darkness. Of course, skeptics attribute these incidents to overactive imaginations, optical illusions, or the interplay of light and shadow among the trees. But those who've had these experiences argue otherwise. They say the consistent descriptions of a sorrowful presence, often accompanied by inexplicable feelings of grief, suggest something more than mere legend. For them, the Black Lady is as real as the rustle of leaves underfoot, a reminder that history and heartbreak can echo long after the events that birthed them. From a folkloric standpoint, the Black Lady of Bradley Woods embodies the archetype of the mourning mother, a recurring motif in ghost stories worldwide. In Mexico, there is the tale of La Llorona, the weeping woman searching for her children. Across Europe, countless legends feature a tragic mother figure, doomed to wander after the loss of a loved one. What binds these legends together is their resonance with the deep emotional archetype of maternal loss. Stories like these evoke empathy, warning, and sometimes moral lessons about war, violence, or neglect. In certain renditions, such spirits serve as guardians of a place, protecting it from further harm. In others, they're restless souls seeking closure. For locals, retelling the Black Lady story can serve as a reminder of the area's heritage, its dark past, and the collective fear of loss. It also adds a dose of mystery and excitement to the otherwise serene countryside. Tales of her presence often come out around Halloween at sleepovers or during local lore gatherings, blending fact with legend in a way that keeps the story ever evolving. Naturally, as with any ghost story, opinions vary. Skeptics argue the sightings are a mix of overactive imagination and natural phenomena. They point out how easily a dark shadow or a tree trunk can appear like a figure in half light. Some scientists suggest that in moments of mild fear or heightened awareness, our minds can fill in the gaps, creating illusions of figures in the distance. On the other hand, Believers argue there are simply too many consistent accounts over the centuries for it all to be coincidence. They highlight the emotional weight many witnesses feel, a profound sadness or empathy that can't be easily explained. Furthermore, the persistent nature of the legend, they say, hints at a truth behind the myth, even if the historical details have been muddled. Where you stand on that spectrum is often a matter of personal experience and openness to the unexplained. Yet even die-hard skeptics admit there's something captivating about the Black Lady story, something that keeps her memory alive in local conversation. If you ever find yourself in Lincolnshire, Bradley Woods is still a lovely place to visit, especially during daylight. The forest trails are well tended, great for family walks, and teeming with wildlife. However, if you're tempted to go looking for the Black Lady at dusk or after dark, remember that safety and respect for local property are paramount. The woods are open to the public in some areas, but be mindful of private land and always heed local regulations. It's also worth mentioning that whether or not you believe in ghosts, legends like the Black Lady of Bradley Woods are part of local cultural heritage. Approaching the area with an open mind and a healthy sense of caution can lead to a rewarding experience. And who knows, you might just catch a glimpse of something unexplainable, something that can't be dismissed by logic alone. In wrapping up our exploration of the Black Lady of Bradley Woods, we've uncovered not only the fascinating aspects of her legend, but also how such stories have a lasting impact on community identity and collective memory. Urban legends like hers hold a mirror to our deepest fears and curiosities, providing insight into our cultural psyche while enriching our appreciation for storytelling traditions. So, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, consider the value these tales add to our lives. They're not just stories, but narratives that connect us across time and space. And with that, I encourage all you wonderful listeners out there to share your own ghost stories and experiences with the paranormal. Who knows? Your tale might just become the next legend waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and keep exploring the mysteries of the world around you.
You've been listening to Urban Legends Uncovered. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the subscribe button to get alerted when we drop a new episode. And make sure to visit us at www.urbanlegendsuncovered.com. We'll see you next time.